if you ask about one IAC tool that works perfectly fine with all other clouds, then only there is one name, which is Terraform. Today, I am going to discuss the same Terraform with its prerequisite, installation, setup, providers, and command. This session is part of Azure Infrastructure with Terraform for Beginner series. And please check out the full playlist link in the description for better understanding and upcoming ones. So let's move ahead without wasting time. So what actually Terraform is, right? As you can see in the image, we have multiple inputs and it is actually generating something and works with all the cloud. Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code tool that works allow you to define and provision and manage cloud and on-prem infrastructure using human readable configuration files. So only one thing that we need to do to prepare the human readable configuration file. Second, instead of manually configuring resources, you write declarative code that describe the desired state or desired end state, and Terraform handle the rest of the thing. And there's a licensed version also available with additional features, maybe more enterprise grade level of features. Okay, so this is the very basic thing about the Terraform, what Terraform is. In a few moments, I will show you the practical as well, where we will create a resource group with the help of Terraform setup that we will do from scratch. Okay, but there are main workflow things that I would like to discuss first. How Terraform works actually. Terraform's core functionality relies basically on three-step workflow and few key components. Okay, so we will discuss both of them. So first we have to identify the scope, identify what infrastructure for your project that you want. That is behind the scene that we have to identify. The actual step is writing or authoring your file. So writing the configuration for your infrastructure, and you define the desired infrastructure in configuration file using HashiCorp configuration language. In short, we call it HCL. Okay, and this is a JSON format file. This is one. Second, behind the scene, what we have to know, initialize the things means install the plugins Terraform needs to manage the infrastructure. This is behind the scene task, right? And the second main thing is planning. The Terraform plan command generates an execution plan that outlines the infrastructure changes needed to match your configuration. And this step lets you review changes before they are applied. It means in this planning step, you can see what is going to be created. Okay. The last one, apply. The Terraform apply command executes the plan, provisioning, updating, or destroying infrastructure resources to achieve the desired state that we have mentioned in our configuration file. So these three are the key components. Okay, and let's talk about the from architecture point of view. What is more important here? Providers, plugins that act as an interface for Terraform to interact with the API of cloud providers like AWS, Azure, Google, and there are many other services. That is the one provider. And the second architectural component is state file. The moment you do the initialization, right, a state file got created. We'll see in a moment, right? No worries. So a JSON file or terraform.tf is state file that acts as a record of infrastructure Terraform has created. And you can see it. We'll see in a moment. It is used to map real world resources to your configuration and track changes. And the last one, modules. So reusable encapsulated collection of Terraform configuration file. Even we are creating one configuration file, you can also call it as a module that help organize and standardize your infrastructure code. Okay, so I hope basic things are very much clear here. What is the main flow? What are the main components, right? And there are some of the key features like cloud agnostic. It works with all the cloud providers. Okay. Second, it's repeatability and consistency. Once the configuration file is created, you can rerun it again and again according to your need. And the version control and collaboration. You can save these file configuration files in your version control system. For example, Git is a very famous one. So you can work on the same thing across your team. And the automation, it is really helpful. It has all the tools available which will help you to develop your DevOps pipeline through automation. Okay, it's very supportive. If you see the execution plan, right? If you see the overall this picture where we can see practitioner is actually writing the infrastructure as a code, IAC. We can also save this all these things in the GitHub. I will show you how in few moments. The planning we apply the things finally and works with all the cloud, and finally we receive the infrastructure even it is on cloud or it is on on-prem. Okay, I hope so far you got the clarity what the basic Terraform is. Okay, so there are few steps that we have to take to do the Terraform installation. Number one thing, you have to go to this URL. Okay, on this URL you will find the zip that you can easily download. If you are a Windows user, you just click on the second link. All important links given in the description of this video, and I will also leave the GitHub repo link so you can also go there and read all the steps. The moment you download the zip file, you have to extract that zip file content. You just create one folder Terraform, and whatever is available in the zip, you just place it over there. Okay. Next thing, what you need to do, you have to go to your environment variable and go to the system variable. You see, you go to the system properties. There's a third tab, advanced. At the bottom, you will see environment variables. Okay. The moment you click on environment variable, you will see two types of variable, user variable and system variable. Go to system variable. You will see there's a variable name path. On the left hand side, you can verify. You just click on it, do the edit. Okay, in the last you see I am making one entry, c colon slash terraform, right, and hit OK. That's it. It means you are done from the setup point of view, and what all you need to do, just check if when you are able to hit the version or not. So you just go to the PowerShell, type terraform space double hyphen version, so you should see the version that you have installed. So as of now when I am recording this video, so I have received the version 1.13.1 on Windows 386. Okay, so we are good at this point of time. Okay, so what we are going to do now, there are some prerequisite to create Azure infrastructure, especially with Terraform. Okay, so what we need, we will create one terraform.tf file, which we also call it TF file or configuration file. Second, we need Azure subscription. Third, Terraform installed locally that you already done. Okay, subscription definitely we have it. Okay, and the third thing, Azure CLI. So if you don't have Azure CLI on your machine, I strongly suggest you to do that. I will leave a link in the description of this video how you can easily install the CLI. Okay, and how you can verify if either the Azure CLI available on your system or not. You just go to the PowerShell, just type AC double hyphen and version. So you will see all the versions installed on your machine. Okay. And the last, not the least, right? You just need to click on the authenticate by using Azure CLI. You can just type AZ login, a pop-up will come. You have to supply your credentials and you are good to go, right? AZ login done, Terraform setup done locally, right? Now we need to prepare only what? The configuration file. There's one more important thing for advanced setup, right? You can click on AZ account show, right? You will see all your logged in credentials. So if you wanted to use service principal kind of setup, so you can use the AZ AD, Active Directory, Service Principal, SP, create for RBAC, role contributor, and you can give your subscription ID. Okay, and you can do all other parameter setup, for example, ARM client ID, client secret, subscription ID. But this is required for more advanced one. In today's lesson, I am just focusing on the basic, the scratch work from the ground. Okay, maybe in the upcoming session, we will discuss more about the parameters, how you can do that. Okay, now we are creating resource group with the Terraform file, which is main.tf. Okay, so how it will look like, you can see on the right hand side main.tf, and there are three important things. One is Terraform section, second one is the provider section, and the last one is the resource section. Okay, so in the very first section where we have the Terraform block, so this Terraform block contains Terraform settings, okay, including required provider. The Terraform will use to provision your infrastructure. If we see inside this Terraform block, we can see this required provider. We can see Azure RM, Azure Resource Manager, right? In the source, we are passing HashiCorp slash Azure RM. And then we are also providing the version. Okay. And there's one more section, required version equal to It's greater than 1.1.0. Okay, now let's cover the remaining point. So Terraform install the providers from the Terraform registry by default. So it takes the things by default. But what is the remaining one? For each provider, source attribute defines an optional host name, a namespace, and the provider type. Okay, you must be seeing there is no specific host name which is visible here, right? But the Azure RM provider's source is defined as HashiCorp as Azure RM. There is no fully qualified domain name, right? But which is a shorthand for what? Registry.terraform.io and then HashiCorp slash Azure RM. So internally, it translates this FQDN internally before downloading all the providers for your Azure to support. Okay, so this is the first Terraform block, right? And where we are specifying the version. You can also define a version constraint for each provider. For example, if your infrastructure already created, you wanted to stick with the existing version, you can definitely define the version here. Okay, and you can also define this is the optional one, the required version. Okay, but you have to specify one here in the first block. Okay, the version attribute is optional, but we recommend using it to enforce the provided version. Without it, Terraform will always use the latest version of the provider, which may introduce breaking changes. So you have to be very careful when you are using version in your Terraform provider configuration file. Okay, the next part, right? First part we covered is the provider Azure RM features slash. Okay, so provider block configures the specific provider. Okay, from here we are get to know, okay, this provider we are going to use. In the first we are giving reference, right? You can see Azure RM. Okay, this is what we are giving reference. So in this case it's Azure RM. A provider is a plugin that Terraform uses to create and manage your resources. You can define multiple provider blocks in a Terraform, but in today's session, so just not to make you confused, we are using only one, which is Azure in Terraform configuration to manage resources and different providers. And there is a resource section as well, the last, and which is very, very important. If you see, there are three things. After resource, we are writing one, two string before the curly braces. One is Azure RM resource group. Then we have a space. Then we have RG. Then what is it? What does it means, right? Use resource block to define components of your infrastructure. A resource might be a physical component or such as a server, or it can be a logical resource such as Heroku application. In the resource block, we have two string blocks, the resource type and the resource name. It means the very first double quote string is a resource type and the second double quote string is a resource name. So what they are doing actually, in this example, the resource type is Azure RM underscore resource underscore group and the name is RG. And the prefix of the type maps to the name of the provider. Okay, so these two things combined together making a unique ID. So in configuration, together resource type and resource name forming a unique ID for the resource. Okay. For example, ID for your network for this transaction for this resource group will be Azure RM resource group.id, right? And then further, we have two more things under name and location. We can see name we are giving my Terraform RG demo and location is Central India. So resource block contains arguments which you use to configure the resources. Okay. Now we talk about the important commands, right? Before jump into the editor. So there are init, plan, format, validate. So name also expressing what actually they mean. So very first one, Terraform init means Terraform has been successfully initialized. What does it mean? Terraform has created a log file, which is terraform.lock.hcl to record the provider selections it made. Include this file in your version control repository so that the Terraform can guarantee to make the same selection by default when you run Terraform init in the future or next time. So this file you can easily add in your where in version control management or source control management software. Second, Terraform plan. As we discussed earlier as well, to generate the execution plan, to see any changes that are required for the infrastructure, if you ever set or change module or backend configuration or Terraform, rerun this command to reinitialize your work directory. Okay, resource actions are indicated with the following symbols. So plus means create. It means all the plus actions saying all these things are going to be added. So Terraform will perform the following actions: adding resource, ID, location, these things, right? And how we confirm: plan 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. It means only one action will be performed. Okay, and here there's one warning: we are not using the hyphen out to save this execution plan, but we are good to go for this session, right? It is just about saving the plan. And the last one, Terraform format, as the name indicating, for consistent formatting in all your configuration file. The Terraform format command automatically updates configuration in the current directory for reliability and consistency. Terraform will print out the name of the files it modified the moment you do the formatting, okay, if there is any. In this case, your configuration file was already formatted correctly. We must be saying, okay, where is our file? This is the same file that I shown you in the previous slide. So Terraform would not return anything if you perform after using the same configuration file, and you can easily get it from the Git repo. I will leave the link in the description of this video. Terraform validate, as the name suggesting, to get the syntactically valid and internally consistent configuration by using the Terraform validate command. So it validated there is no syntactical type of mistake. If configuration valid, so Terraform will return a success message. It's all good. We can go ahead and we can go for the apply command. So what will happen? The moment you type Terraform apply to apply your configuration file, resource actions are indicated with the following symbols. Okay, plus icon, all these things will be created. Press 1 to add. Okay, do you want to perform these actions? So only yes we have to specify here. The moment I type value yes, then it will start creating my resource. You can see this is the sample response that I received. It will show you how many sources it gonna create. It's 1 added, 0 changed, and 0 destroyed. So this is the resource name that we just seen. Now, the last one, there is one more thing. After creation, you wanted to verify something. Okay, so you can use the Terraform show command. So it will show you what are the resources that you have created. Okay, and you can also use the Terraform state command, which is inspecting your current state of your Terraform infra. Okay, when you apply your configuration, Terraform writes data into a file called terraform.tf state. Okay, so this is how it looks like. On the right hand side you can see all the details of the resource that you have created is available here. This file contains the ID and properties of the resources Terraform created, so that it can manage and destroy those resources going forward. But it could also contain some sensitive value information, so do not share, do not checking in your source control system, for example in Git. So make sure in Git ignore you are adding this terraform.tf state file. Okay, so the moment you type the terraform state command, right, so it will return, okay, what are the resource ID which is created and what is the value. Okay, so when you transform created, actually when Terraform created this resource group, it also gathered the resources properties and metadata. So these values can be referenced to configure other resources or output. So this output you can use for the other Terraform file input. Okay, now to review the information in your state file, what you can do, you can use the Terraform state list command. So list will display you what all are the resources we have created with the help of this module or this Terraform configuration file. The last note, if you run terraform.state, so you will see a full list of available commands to view and manipulate in the configuration state. I will show you in a moment in my VS Code. And if you see, we have created only one single file, which is main.tf, and here we are using the same piece of code to create the Azure Resource Group. Very simple, right? There is no complexity at all. The same Terraform block, right, that we have discussed, same provider block that we have already discussed, same resource section, right? Okay, and if you see, we are using the git ignore, so we don't want to upload the important files, sensitive information into the source control management system. So we have added all the conditions here, so don't worry about these files, you will get it. I will leave a GitHub repo link, and there's one readme file. It contains all the important links. okay, about the location code. For example, we are using Central India, how you can get it for your location. You can hit the first link and what key commands that we are going to perform now, right? As of now, if you see on the left hand side, you see only three things, right? One folder, git ignore, main.tf and readme.md. Okay, very simple. Now I'm going to perform these commands only and you see the magic, right? So very first thing, let me show you the versions, right, that we have discussed so far. For example, Terraform hyphen version. If I hit enter, you see now we are able to see the version 1.3.3, okay, 1.13.1, okay. Let's clear the screen and also AZ version, right? This is what I told you you should be having on your machine, okay. You see, let me just scroll up. We can see AZCLI also working perfectly fine and I've already performed the AZ login action. Okay, so I'm good to perform the remaining actions. Now, okay, let me perform very first command, which is Terraform init. But I think before that, let me show you how my Azure resource group looks like. Okay, because you must be thinking how many resource group already are there. Let me show you. If you see my Azure portal, as of now there are only three resource group: demo RG, network RG, and this one. Okay, so let's go back to the VS Code. So right now I'm performing Terraform init. Okay, I hit enter. It is initializing the backend, initializing the provider that I have specified in my main.tf file module. Okay, it is checking all the dependencies, all the plugins which are required to perform this operation. So it says Terraform has successfully initialized. So what changes you can see on the left hand side, we can see .terraform folder is created. Under that we have this executable file. So we don't need to do any changes in this file, number one. Second, we can see this terraform log.hcl, right? This is the uh, code file that we can see here, correct? Second thing, let me just minimize this one, okay? And what else we can see here? What is the next command that we have to perform? Let me go to readme file, terraform format, right? Because our file is very small, so there is no formatting, adjustment requirement, but still we can see how it will show you if you perform this command. Okay, clear screen, terraform fmt, okay, formatting. So there's nothing we are getting here. Okay, so it means there is no need to change anything. Second, terraform validate, hit enter. There is no change required from the validation point of view, so it should return a green success. Yeah, success, the configuration file is valid. So now what we need to apply? Terraform plan. Okay, so let me type here terraform plan, hit enter. So it will show me what are the things that it is going to create for me. Okay, now we can see terraform tf state info file is also added here. Okay, and one terraform.tf state is also added here that we were talking about. Okay, meanwhile it is generating response, right? If I click here, okay, it is in the process, so we should not open it right now. So let's wait for it to complete. After 3 more seconds, I can see Terraform plan returning what it is going to add it. Plus means it is going to add resource ID location name. Okay, so this plan only one to add, zero change, zero destroy. Okay, so I'm good. So what it is asking, plan one to add. Okay, so what action we have to perform here? It says you don't use how out action. Okay, if you run Terraform apply now, so we are good to go. Okay, only out it is complaining, but we are good with it. Okay, plan we have applied, so only one command remaining. Let me just clear the screen now. Okay, which is terraform apply. Okay, hit enter. So it should start applying these changes, meaning it will start creating the resources because AZ login already done, right? And Terraform is now behind the scene preparing the file, preparing the command for creating the resource group. So it can take few seconds. It has created the plan, right? It is saying if you type yes, it will create the resource group right away. So I'm typing yes, hit enter, okay? And I already shown you how it will look like. That's why we are going so fast, right? This is our PowerShell terminal, and we hit enter yes. So in few seconds, it will show you the transaction, what it is going to perform, and what will be the name of our resource group and the unique ID that it is getting generated. Okay, after a few seconds, the moment we enter yes, so it can see it is creating, then it is created after. This is our resource name, my Terraform RG demo, right? It says the one resource added. If you want to check, okay, some info on this terminal itself, right? Let me clear screen. Let me type Terraform show. Okay, if I hit enter, okay, so it will read the metadata, whatever we have created. You can see this resource we have created with the help of this metadata. Okay, and if you wanted to see the state, what is already created, I'm typing here state list. Okay, if I hit enter, okay, it is returning this unique ID got created and which is for resource group. And if you just simply type state, okay, it will give you all the list option. What you can do, list identities means list the identity of the resources in the state, MV, pull, push, all other options. So I strongly recommend you to try all these options. These are very helpful. And let's go back to our Azure portal and let's see if our source group is created or not. I am here. I am going to refresh this window and let's see. Okay, I hit refresh. Okay, now we can see our my Terraform RG demo is successfully created. If I click here, right? So I am able to see all the details now, correct? I can see my subscription ID. It is just deployed, right? With the help of our first Terraform script that we have created from scratch, and no need to worry about anything. Okay, so this AZRG Terraform repo already created. I will leave the link. Okay, the script is here. You don't need to worry about it all. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. I hope you like this video. So your one like, one comment, one share, subscribe, or your thanks will definitely help and motivate us to create more such videos, right? And I will definitely see you in the next video where we will discuss more about its parameters and other configuration that we can do in Terraform. Okay, till then, bye bye. Take care.